Hey guys, so today I'm just going to go through the basics of getting started editing some video footage with a program called Davinci Resolve. So you can Google it just like I have here, and on the website you can download a free version. They've got a free and a paid for version. They'll just ask you to register with your details. Once you've registered that, they'll give you a link to a download. So you can download that, and once it's downloaded, you'll have to unzip the file, and then you can open the installer from there. Just follow the prompts with the installer. Once it has installed, check if you've got the icon on your desktop background. First time that I installed it, I didn't have it there, so I had to go into my computer and my C drive program files, go to Blackmagic Design and Davinci, and I could find the application in there and then copy across a shortcut by right-clicking and dragging and selecting Create Shortcut here. Hopefully for you, it hasn't done that and you've got the icon on your background of your computer as soon as it's installed. So if that's the case, click on that. It'll open up, offer a welcome tour. For the sake of this tutorial, we don't really need to go through the welcome tour. The next part will be a quick setup, which will go through the details of your computer and recommend some settings. So we don't really need to go for Ultra HD, normal HD will be enough. Then it will ask you to select a location for storage of files. For me, I use a portable hard drive. I find that way I can keep everything on that and it doesn't clog up my work laptop. So choose where you want the files to be stored. And then going forward from that, the next option will be about if you've had experience with any editing software in the past. So for me, I use Adobe Premiere quite a bit. So that's the layout that I'm going to go with. For the sake of this tutorial, I'd recommend also following that layout. If you're experienced with another program that's listed there, feel free to explore that layout option as well. So it'll take usually a little bit of time to load up, particularly if it's the first time. Once it has loaded up, you'll notice there's a few different areas on the main screen. Up on the top left, we can add our files in there to our library. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a background file and some music. So I can select, holding Control and select both of those and add them in. I've also got a video clip that I want to work with, so I'll find that and add that into the media library as well. So in this first layout here, we can bring our video clips into the timeline, and then we can scroll through, we can preview them and have a bit of a look. Sometimes when you're filming, it'll take a couple of cuts to get the shot that you're really happy with. So I know in this clip here of mine, it took me a little while going through, then I made a mistake and I decided to start it again. So I'm going to scroll through, find where my mistake was and where I started again. And then I'll be able to clip the little clip and take away that unnecessary stuff at the start. So somewhere around here, I'll find the place where I'm just about to start my second take. There we go, perfect little screenshot. So right clicking on where the track head is, we can go to split. That'll split the video into two clips. We can delete the one that we don't want. And now this will play forwards from the start that I want it to. You can also click and drag the edges in to trim them up. So I can trim that to get rid of that starting still of me and get something where at least my eyes are open. So now I've got this to start with. Going down the bottom, we've got these tabs. So the third tab, edit, I find that the most useful to work with. So you can see we've still got our clip in here, but we can also add extra tracks in here quite easily as well. So dragging this video background down, I can add it in. Notice that I've added it on the track above where the video is. If I put it on the other one, it would block out the video, and we don't want that. So by dragging the audio tracks down so we can see more of those video tracks, you can see that we've got the background and we've got the video clip on two different tracks, and I've separated them out as well so that the video will be played after the background. So next, we might want to add some text in. So we can go to our effects library and go down and find text and drag that in. That'll give us a title. Then if we make sure we've got the text selected, the graphic on the timeline, and we go up to the inspector, then we'll be able to change what that text actually says. So I can change that now. So we can see that we've got that text up there now. I also find it's good to use video transitions where possible. So in our effects library over on the left, we can go to video transitions, and cross dissolve is a really effective, simple one. So if we put that on the start of the text there, then it will fade in. We can put something different for the end of it. So instead of having it just fade out, we can go and explore what some of the other video transitions are. We've got a cross wipe. We can have a look at that and see what we think. And I think I might not quite go that fancy, so I can click that and delete it, and we'll try a center wipe and see how that looks. I'm happy with that. So now it's often good to put the similar effects on the backgrounds. I find the fades quite useful. So the cross dissolve, I'll stick that on the start of the background, and I'll stick it on the end of it as well. I've just missed there a little bit, so we can click that and press delete. If you ever delete something that you didn't mean to by accident, you can always Control Z to undo it as well. So I'll stick that back on there. So now if we play that through, there's our intro. So I'll also put a cross dissolve onto the video clip of me speaking. So at the start of clips, it can also be good to put in an introduction tile. So going over, we can look through they call video thirds. So they've got pre-made ones in here, can scroll through. I'm looking for one that's got 2 lines so that I can have my title and my company in there as well. So I can stick that in here so it comes up just after the fade. That'll slide in. You can see they've just got default text in there. So to change that, we can go up top right to our inspector, click on main text to change the main text. And we can change the secondary text as well. So now we've got a text tile on there. I can play the video forwards and see what the content is. Sometimes I find it's good to emphasize certain points of the video with text as well. So as I mentioned, the tripods, I want to emphasize that point. So I'm going to look in our effects library again, and there's a lot of options here. So have a little bit of a look through. I try and keep to somewhat the simpler ones, so you can get some 3D ones that can be quite a lot to look at on screen. Sometimes I think simple can be more effective. So I'll go through and find something here and then drag that over onto the timeline. So now we can play that and see how that effect looks. We've got a super fancy title. We can change that over in our inspector again. I'll stick in Manfrotto tripods just to emphasize the point, the piece of equipment that I'm talking about at that time. And if the text is too big, we can also scale that down as well. So these pre-made effects usually have an animation on the way in, and they usually have an animation on the way out as well. But you can also drag and shorten them too. If you want them to be on the screen for less time, you can drag them out to make them remain on screen for longer as well. So now I can play the footage forwards and see what the next point that comes up is. So here I start to talk about the Rode Wireless Go kits. So here I want to find the specific place on the timeline where I first start to mention them. I can leave the playhead there and drag that same effect over. I usually try and keep relatively similar and consistent effects throughout the same video so that it doesn't look like there's too much new stuff being introduced. It can be good to have a bit of consistency in there. So I can fill out the main text here. And again, the writing's quite large on this, so might bring that down a little bit. So we've got that one done now. And the only other thing that I'll add is sometimes I find it's nice to put a little bit of background music into the videos. So what we can do is drag the music clip in, make sure you've got royalty-free music. And I'm also gonna slide up these audio tracks so that I can see more easily where I put it. If you stick a track over the top of another track, it will cancel it out. So today I'm just going to run you through the basics of the equipment that we've got and how to get started. So I can hear that music's quite loud now, and it's important to make sure you don't drown out the content of your clip with the music. So by clicking on the audio clip, going up to our inspector top right, we can turn that volume down. You can slide the dial to turn it down, or you can enter a value in manually as well. So we'll try -15 and see how that goes. Hey guys, so today I'm just going to run you through the basics of the equipment that we've got and how to... Alright, so there's a bit of a start to the video, and when it comes to wanting to actually export the video, we can go down to the bottom to this Deliver tab. It's often a good time to save the project here if you haven't already. Sometimes these programs can crash, so I'd recommend saving at regular intervals. And I usually try and put the date in when I save as well. And that way, if you've been working on the same project over a couple of days, you can see which one was your most recent save. So now that we're in the Deliver tab, we can go in, and what I'm going to do is at the start of the video, right click up at the top of the timeline and select Mark In. You can then scroll along the timeline to the last point that I want to be exported. I've gone a little bit far here, so I'll come back a little bit and find just after that last text box that we put in. And then I can right click up in the top of the timeline again and select Mark Out. And that will make it so that we only export the video in between those 2 points, Mark In and Mark Out. So now that we've selected how much we want to export, we can go up to top left, we can rename the file, and importantly choose the location that we want to save it in. For me, I'll use my portable hard drive. Also, it can be worth having a look at the video settings. Often the default settings will be really high quality videos. So I'm going to change this to MP4, and then I'm going to have a look at the quality as well. So the quality here, we've got the best. We can bring that right down to medium, and that'll still be fine. So we can click add to render queue, and then it will pop up over on the right in the queue, and then we can start the render. Depending on how fast your computer is, it might be quite slow to render. Just bear with it. Try not to do too much else on the computer if it is having a hard time with it. And once it's finished rendering, you'll have your video file that you can have a look at and see how it's all come together. All right, so I'll go to the video file now, and we can have a look at that. Hey guys, so today I'm just going to run you through the basics of the equipment that we've got and how to get started using it. So we've got Manfrotto tripods. These are really nice sturdy tripods. They've got nice... So there we go. That's how it's turned out. The video quality's been fine on medium there. And it's also worth looking at the file size. So that came out at 74 megabytes, whereas one that was smaller in length that I rendered earlier, that I left on high, was over 2 gigabytes. So it is really important to make sure that you don't render them in too high quality. So that's the basics. You can add onto the end of your video fades as we did at the start and go from there. There's also, if there's anything in particular that you want to know, I find YouTube is a really good resource for tutorials. And if you get really stuck with anything, just give me a call.